Hey.
Oh, your house is great. Hi, you guys are so big.
We haven't seen them in a while,
Oh
right?
my gosh.
The gym?
Yeah.
Bathroom.
What?
Look at that. You telling me, come on, you have athletic kids. All right, welcome back to the show. I'm Tony Gonzalez. This is Wide Open, and my guest today, well, you have so many roles, but she was a childhood actress, grew up and did major movies, Fantastic Four, Sin City, and from there started her own company. I'm talking about Jessica Alba, and she is on Wide Open. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I feel like you should be the voice of my ways.
Of your ways.
You have a good voice.
Oh, thank you.
Who knew?
Thank you.
All these years that I've known you, I had no idea.
Is it like a DJ voice, or is it like?
Yeah, it's like a DJ. Like I want you to give me directions and tell me when to
make a left.
Stop
Here?
light.
But anyway, thank you for coming on the show. And on Wide Open, I don't know if they briefed you a little bit about what we talk about on the show, but it's all about helping people level up,
Oh,
be
okay.
the best versions of themselves, and to take movers and shakers like yourself. And we're going to learn some tips and tricks, lessons, routines, all that stuff from you. But I want to start from the beginning because I'm really always fascinated on people's backstories. Okay, where do they come from? And how did they think when they were younger?
Mm-hmm.
And so with you, give us just a brief understanding of how you grew up. I heard that you moved around a lot, which is very similar to how I did, but you guys moved around a lot?
Yeah. So in the beginning, before Jesus, no, I'm just kidding. I grew up in Southern California with very young parents. My parents were 18 and 19 when they got pregnant with me, and 19 and 20, I think, when they had me. So they were just super, super young. And my dad, my mom's family kind of disowned her when she got with my dad because they're a little bit racist.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad's Mexican, my mom's white. And she, her mother was fine with the relationship, but her mother actually died a couple years later. And then my mom got cancer. And basically her only family was my dad's family. So I grew up with this ginger, orange freckled white mom and a very strong Mexican family.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm third generation. So my grandparents were actually born in Claremont, but I really held on to those roots.
Uh-huh.
They're all kind of like artists, like singers and dancers and sculptors and painters. So lots of that in the family. And then my dad, actually, to support me, he was on the pro tennis circuit and he had to give that up and join the military so that he could essentially make a living and support his new person that came into the world, and that was me. And I luckily had, we had the military because I was very sick as a kid and I had many different illnesses. I was in the hospital a lot. I had several surgeries, lots of issues with asthma and allergies. I mean, I was the kid on the soccer field, baseball field, that had a breathing machine every time I played.
Really?
But I was really into playing sports, and my dad was a huge sports fanatic, always growing up. And so it's like I had to get good grades and I had to be good at sports. And I could never throw like a girl or kick like a girl
Mm-hmm.
or hit a ball like a girl. So he was really intense with me about my form.
I just saw that too. We were throwing the ball before we got on here, and you threw the ball. It was
he was
perfect
not,
spiral. Look at you. So I get it.
Well, he was not playing.
Uh-huh.
So I was like this sort of sickly kid, but then at the same time, was very strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a very feminist, like my dad was like, you never need a man, you be independent, you never rely on anyone, you make your own living.
Mm.
And so he wanted me to just always be very independent. So having a feminist father really encouraged that in me from day one. I think gave me this fire and this spirit. And then my mom is a good time. She is just, she's fun. She makes friends everywhere she goes.
Yeah.
We're kind of the opposite. I was always very logical and serious and goal-oriented. And my mom, you know, just likes going with the flow, and she loves to have a good time and makes lots of friends. So we're very yin and yang. But my mom actually works with me now at Honest.
Really?
Weirdly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. But I do appreciate her. And both of my parents have always been very supportive of all of my bizarre ambitions, including wanting to be an actress at the age of 11.
So, yeah. So when you were growing up, though, did you guys move around because he joined the military?
Yeah.
And then when you went to new places, you said you weren't good at making friends, though, but you had to talk to people at school, right? How did that go?
No, I didn't. I really didn't have friends.
You didn't like anybody?
No,
huh?
my mom was the one that was good at talking to people. I was like shy and weird. And I've always been kind of eccentric and a little bit off, and the way I think is a little bit different always. And so my brother was the one that always made friends, and you know.
How old's your brother?
He's 13 months younger. So we're really.
And you have a good relationship with him?
Yeah, we have a really good relationship.
So when you guys would move around in schools like that, it was kind of like you two. Because that's how me and my brother is maybe 2 years older than me. Not even 2 years. So we're very close we were close. That's a whole different subject. But he was my guy there for me. And you and your brother, like, how did you guys lean on each other as kids?
Well, you know, my parents also like stressed and a lot about, you know, money was tough and just, you know, living paycheck to paycheck, and my parents having several jobs and the stress of not having enough. It was like we were always kind of like on that edge. I think it really like weighed a lot on my parents. I mean, I know it did because they argued a lot about money. And so my brother was sort of like my person that I could share with how I felt about it, because you know, you can't really like share your business with strangers or random people at school or what have you. So, yeah, we leaned on each other a lot when it was hard, and it was hard a lot. So, and then I was sick a lot. I was in the hospital, like basically every time I got a cold, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks.
Really?
And, you know, kids get sick all the time.
What did that do for your mentality, do you think? As you reflect on, obviously going through it at the time, you're probably I was
sucks. Miserable. Yeah, I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot that you know, I could be a superhero. I just wanted to be a superhero. I just wanted to be someone that I wanted to be anybody else. And I thought if I had superhuman powers, like, wouldn't that be great? Because I just felt so weak. So I think, you know, for me, it made me even stranger, even more of a strange kid. Because I probably already started off a little bit weird, and it made me even more off and isolated. And I always felt more comfortable with adults at an early age.
Was there anybody there to talk you through this? You'd say, hey, I'm feeling lonely, or I'm feeling isolated. And
no.
Feelings of anger. I mean, anything that would come up, I could see that. I can only imagine as a child.
No, I mean, I think my family is sort of like kids don't speak unless they're spoken to, and you know, you don't eat what's on your plate. You know, sit there until
it's old school.
Really old school. And the man is the one that runs the household, and he's the king of the household. And you know, I don't think I ever saw my grandmother. So my dad got out of the military when I was 9, and we moved in with my grandparents, which is pretty normal for I think a lot of people. And so, you know, where I'm living in, like essentially like the head of the household is my grandfather and my grandmother. And my grandmother is really like strong and hardcore, and she like runs things. And she's going to be disapproving probably of a lot of things that my parents do and say, right? Because it's her rules and all of that. So living with like parents who were almost like kids in a home, and then us being the kids of the kids. So my grandparents really became these like authority figures and really kind of like parents.
Were they your role models? Like, what was what was the one role model if you had to pick one, and who would that be? And then what did they teach you?
Well, I would say that like I think my grandfather's drive inspired me because of, he grew up so poor, and, him being able to figure out how to go to college out of, I think he had 11 siblings and he was the only one. And then him, he got a great job in corporate America and he kept that job and he bought like 5 houses and he, was sort of like the one that everyone kind of financially leaned on if they needed help. And he like belonged to a country club and he would travel to different countries and buy guitars because his passion was playing classical, like Spanish guitar. And my grandmother was just like super strong and intense. And I'm also her twin. Mm-hmm. And so everyone thought my grandmother was my mom also because we look exactly alike. And my mom, we don't look alike as much. My poor mother. I'm like, now I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, that must have been so hard for her. Yeah. But at the time, you're just sort of, going through it. And I guess my grandparents were a huge inspiration, but then having people like my parents who just inspired me, who gave me the reins to figure myself out. Like they didn't have a lot of boundaries. Mm-hmm. I sort of created them. My brother we created our own boundaries. And then they're just so optimistic. They really believe in people. Like they're so friendly. And I think that it's so easy to be cynical, especially when you come from, always struggling, mm-hmm. and for them to never lose that sense of hope. Uh-huh. And they do. They're still very optimistic now. And I was always kind of a cynic. I guess I now appreciate it.
Yeah. Did you grow up with any type of religion? I think I read somewhere that.
Yeah, Catholic. With my grandmother, and then my parents sort of became, I guess I call it non-denominational Christian, uh-huh. or something. And then I kind of became a born-again Christian, I think to give myself boundaries.
Yeah.
Because it just felt logical that you needed to have them. And so I think I created it. Yeah. When I was young.
My wife, but October, mm-hmm. She grew up kind of very similar to you, like a very poor upbringing. And not really that many rules. It sounds like that's what you said.
But my parents, if you say that we were poor, like they'll freak out.
Yeah, not poor, I guess.
We lived paycheck to paycheck, and they worked very hard.
I like the saying we weren't poor. We didn't have a lot of money, but we were not poor.
That's what that's how they would describe it.
My wife would probably say both. She'd be like, we was poor and we didn't have a lot of money.
They're very prideful, right?
Yeah.
And they always had many jobs, you mm-hmm. know. They were never lazy. We were never filthy. Like my mom I always looked snatched. Like I went to school, my hair was done.
Yeah, have some respect, right?
Yeah, dignity. We were together.
Yeah,
yeah.
And because of that, did with the religion though, getting back to that, my wife, she said that she turned to religion though to kind of give herself those boundaries because it was something that was lacking in her home. Is that what? Being a Catholic brought to you, or was it forced upon you?
Well, I went to church with my grandmother, uh-huh. so there was a lot of guilt associated with that. Basically, you're guilty of everything, and you're a sinner, and you're constantly asking for forgiveness. But I think when I couldn't find the words that I had, because I probably struggled with a bit of depression and a bit mm-hmm. of manic sort of episodes when I was younger. Like I didn't sleep a lot. And I had, various different eccentric and impulsive behaviors mm-hmm. that, we didn't have the same vocabulary around mental illness or mental struggles that we have today. Mm-hmm. And I think, maybe for me, turning to religion was a way to kind of deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I got to tell you, listening to your story, though, that type of girl doesn't want to go be an actress now. I mean, but you did.
No, but see, for me, it was a way to be financially independent.
Really?
And,
okay.
Yeah.
You were thinking that at that age, you're like, this can make me a lot of money.
Well, any money.
Yeah.
So that I didn't have to, because I saw that like when you live inside of someone else's house, you live by their rules. Mm-hmm. And when my family is very like classic, hardcore, traditional rules that I felt were oppressive. The only way I can be independent of their thinking and their way was to be financially independent.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can live my own life freely.
Okay.
And so that, to me, being financially independent allowed me the freedom to really be me, because I felt it felt really oppressive and heavy to live, because I've always been a little bit strange, like I said, and a little off, and that isn't really like allowed. You kind of you're supposed to sort of fit within these lines, and not like move too far left or right. You're not supposed to stand out. You're not supposed to think differently. You're not supposed to be provocative. I think I was the only person actually in my family that actually disagreed with my grandfather publicly, like at dinner.
Really? So where does that come from, though? Is that something that you're born with, especially now? I know you have 3 kids. Do you think that's just, can you teach that, or is that something that was just always part of you? You're like, I'm going to speak up and say what's on my mind.
I couldn't help it, right? It was like this thing. And when you try to put a lid on somebody, when they have that type of spirit, I think that's when you get a lot of destructive behavior. And so I think you have to know, my kid, even with my 3 kids, they're all so very, they're so different, and they need different things. And there is nature, but there's also nurturing each thing that they need to be good. And, I don't blame my parents for anything, and I actually appreciate that they allowed me to pursue what I needed to pursue at 11, which is crazy, right? To think of.
So walk me through that, though, with you saying to your parents, hey, I want to be
we didn't have any money. So I saw on a radio ad, or I listened to a radio ad, that it was basically like a John Robert Powers or like Barbizon. Do you know what these things are? It's like, no. Do you want to be a model or an actor or a da-da-da?
Oh, yeah, I remember
Go to da-da-da-da-da, and you can win, because you could be a star.
Yeah, you'll be the next famous girl.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
So it was like the Hilton Hotel at LAX. It was for Beverly Hills Studios. And I think they ended up getting in trouble for stealing people's money or something. Pretty sure. You
did?
No.
They did. The company did. I was like, you stole people's money during your audition? Oh my God.
No.
Okay.
But I guess out of like 2,500 people or something, maybe it was maybe like 2,000. I won the grand prize. And I sort of lied about everything. I was like, yeah, I've done plays. I've been in like so many plays and acting, in theater in my school. And then they picked me, and I was like, what do I do, Mom? And she was like, well, just say this. And I was like, okay. But like my mom auditioned for it. My auntie Kathy, my mom and my aunt have the same name, Kathy and Kathy. And then my cousin Jessie Mo, which is Jessica. And then my other 3 cousins and my brother, and then my aunt's sister and her boyfriend, we all auditioned. So we got in we had this big old hoopty name. We called it the boat. And it had like the asbestos that was like, on the ceiling of the car.
That's not healthy. Yeah.
Yeah. So and we used to pick it, and then we had like the seatbelt that just was the single seatbelt that went across the whole front seat.
Yeah.
And the single seatbelt that went across the whole back seat. So we could fit a lot of people. And I remember just like digging in the couch and like digging in like my grandma's purse and like any purse for change. And that's how we paid for like food and gas to go and audition. And then I won this grand prize. And then it was like, okay, you won a year's worth of acting lessons or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm 11 and I only have the summer, so I need to fit it all in the summer. And so then I figured out how to fit the full year of classes in a summer, which meant like super intense, like 8-hour days with a bunch of adults, essentially, because there weren't really anybody my age. And then at the end, I got to audition for agents, and I got my headshot, and somehow I got a job. And then every 3 months, because I was essentially supplementing my mom's income because she had to be with me, my dad was like, we can't afford for you to be an actor. It's going to cost us money. Like, your mom works. So if I didn't get a job, then I had to stop, and my mom would have to go back to
Yeah.
You know, she worked as a bartender. She was manager at a movie theater, manager at a clothing store. Like she had so many jobs.
Yeah.
And so it just sort of put this like pressure on me to constantly, you know, work.
How was that as a child though? How does that, I'm fascinated by any child who's famous in the public eye.
But I wasn't famous until I was 18 or 19.
But still, how about anybody still putting that pressure of, okay.
But I put it on myself.
You put it on yourself. So you're okay with that. You were fine with it at the time. You didn't feel.
Yeah, because I was like, then I get the freedom of not having to live in this world that feels super weird and oppressive. And then on the flip side, in a way, I got to live out the fantasy of being somebody that I wasn't. You know, like I didn't become an actress because I thought I was this incredible person that everyone should see. I literally just wanted to be anybody else. Really? And so it allowed me to do that.
So what about, you know, when I got done playing football, I had acted throughout my career of playing football, but I was like, okay, maybe I'll try this Hollywood thing out. I live here in LA, let's go do this. And I enjoyed it, but what was really tough as an adult was going into these audition rooms and sitting there. And then you'd go in there and you just get crushed.
Oh yeah.
Did you ever have any auditions where you just got crushed in there? You walked out of there just feeling horrible.
All day,
did that
every
happen
day.
to you?
All day, every day.
Really?
Yeah, there's 1,000 no's for the one yes. So there's 1,000 no's for the one Camp Nowhere, my first thing. There was 1,000 no's before I got the Secret World of Alex Mack. There were 1,000 no's before The New Adventures of Flipper. You know, like.
So how does that feel though, as a child going through that? How do you, because I know as an adult, I'd walk out of there. I'm telling you right now, there was one time I walked out of an audition. It was so bad that the lady, she made me read it over.
They break your spirit.
But she was nice. This lady was nice. And she looks at me on the way out and she puts her arms up like this. And I'm like, what? And she goes, come here. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. Because she could see I was just distraught. And I was really working hard on this. But I went out to the parking lot and I was like, it's one of those, I didn't even start my car. I was just staring out the window for 20 minutes going, what the hell am I doing? Like, this is really, really tough.
Yeah.
I could only imagine as a child, but obviously you're better than me when it comes to that stuff.
It's not, I don't know if I am. I think you just have to have it forces you to get, I guess you have a really hard, you build up a very, very tough shell. And I think for me, I never believed the hype. And I think any success that I had was, I never trusted it. And and I think the thing that my evolution in the business, because I was so used to rejection and I was so used to feeling bad and I was so used to the struggle, that even at the peak of me making like more money than guys, and I was like on all the posters and all the things and all the stuff, not for 1 minute did I believe in it.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't until, or even feel comfortable with myself. It wasn't until, I don't think, maybe until I was 30.
Was that intentional? Did you do that on purpose, saying, you know what, I'm not going to buy into this because I know where that can lead me?
No, I just didn't know.
Or did it come from insecurity? Was it like?
I didn't trust it because I was you're beaten down. I was beaten down. Every day I was told I wasn't good enough, that I was never going to be good enough. And Hollywood is such a one-sided, similar to like having children. It's a one-sided relationship. You love it so much more than it will ever love you back. And it is always like kind of the boyfriend or the girlfriend that can never commit, you know, and it always has like one foot out the door. And like it just destroys your little spirit. That's why whenever I do spend time with anybody who's been through it in this business for any period of time, it's like we're the same people, because to be able to have that much resilience, it's such a hard business. Like, people only see the glamour, and they have no idea what it takes to even have a smidge of success. And when you're playing the long game, like I always had the long game in mind. I was never thinking like, oh, this is just going to be a 10-year thing. I don't know, I guess you sort of appreciate it in a different way.
How hard were you approaching it? And the reason I'm asking all these questions, I want to get to like the bottom of what it took to get there, to build it.
I had no relationship.
Did you do acting classes? Were you reading acting books? Were you watching?
I had no relationships.
What does that mean?
Nothing was more important than work.
Really?
Yes. I literally I'd never really cultivated any other relationship.
And do you think that is the reason that you made it? Or
yes.
Because you just said basically I'm tunnel visioned.
Yep.
I have my goal.
How did you make it?
And I'm going for it. A lot of different reasons why.
I mean,
I totally get the hard work. Hard work is there.
It's discipline, and it's discipline, right?
Okay.
You're focused.
Would you say you loved acting?
I love it.
Love it.
I love it. Yeah. I miss it. I went through a period of hating it because I was relying on the business for my identity and my self-worth. And I measured it based off of something that's so fleeting, right? And once I stepped away from it and stopped attaching, I guess, myself to it.
Yeah.
And I could separate my spirit and who I am, then I really started liking it again. But when it was all encompassing, I hated it.
Yeah. Well, with football for me, you asked me about myself.
Yeah.
It really took off for me once I got to the professional ranks. And I guess that's the difference between acting and sports. But because you can really just get by on talent in any sport. I mean, like I'm just bigger, stronger, and faster than you. But there's going to be a point where that catches up to you. And I don't know if that happens in acting. But for me, it seems like the moment I started putting in the work, how you said, and then really I stopped worrying about the outcome. I don't know if that hits home with you.
Same.
But for me, where I was like, I kind of like you give up, or they call it surrender or whatever it is, where I was like, you know what? I don't care about being the best. I just want to be good today and I want to enjoy it. Yeah. And that's kind of when it turned for me. Do you have a similar experience like that? Is that?
Again, that's for me what happened when I stopped attaching. I was not looking outside in, but I was inside of myself, right? I didn't have this like little other person saying, this is how people are going to see it. Like, people are going to measure who you are as a person based off of whether this movie opens or this is successful. And you're not going to be shit if this doesn't happen or that doesn't happen. Whereas when I could detach myself from the success of it and that outer voice, and I can just be present in the moment and make the most of what's right here in front of me, that's when I started to really enjoy it. And I think and it's only been after I've had my kids. And I only really started to get back into it this last year. Yeah. And I think I've put a lot of my creative energy into my business. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll get to that too. I think that's great advice that you just said for an actor or anybody going through any type of, especially when you're young. I love getting older.
Me too.
I'm 43 now.
Me too.
All you young people out there listening, God, getting older because you want to get to that point.
Yeah, it's so comfortable.
Yeah, where you say, I don't give a shit anymore.
When you start giving zero fucks is when you start really living your life.
Yeah, I like that. When you start giving zero fucks, that's when life takes off. Yeah. I always say it takes off on the other side of fear, but zero fucks is good too. I like it. Real quick to piggyback that though. Did you watch? You're a tennis fan, obviously a little bit though, or no? I know our daughters play tennis. By the way, that's how we know each other. People are like, do they know each other?
We do.
We met each other because our daughters were playing tennis. She would come over to my house.
UCLA. Well, they originally met at camp at UCLA.
That's right.
And I think because they have like a similar mix, they like found each other. They were like, they looked like same kind of people. Yeah. And they were like, just Honor was like, so now I have a best friend from tennis, and she was like telling me, and she's like, can we have a play date? And then they started taking lessons at your house.
Yeah, started taking lessons.
Yeah.
So my daughter and our daughters, both of them, they still play tennis.
Yeah. But yours is on another level.
Well, I mean, it's because I make her play.
It's a Friday afternoon thing.
Your daughter, though, is incredible. I couldn't believe how she's athletic and tall. So whatever she picks, she's going to be great at it.
Yeah, she just doesn't really apply herself, but it's okay.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that parenting. I can't wait to talk about parenting, especially considering the way you grew up, how your style is. But Coco Groff, do you know who that is? Okay, so I was watching her the other day. And she was going against Osaka. Is that her name? I don't want to mess with her. I think that's her name. And she was losing. She was getting dominated. It was fun? You thought it was fun?
Oh my God, to see those two young women.
I know, but then the game kept going and she was just getting crushed.
I know, but she's 15.
She's 15. That's my point.
On that stage.
That is my point.
She made it. Like, what an accomplishment. And Osaka was there. She had been that young girl on that stage.
So it's good because I need this type of advice from you because I'm looking at it saying to myself, that poor girl, she's 15, she's out in the limelight. Like if I was her parent, I don't even know if I would have entered her into it, knowing that she's good enough, but emotionally, is she really ready for that stage? And that's why I asked you about the whole being young in Hollywood or any kid who's famous young. It's gotta be extraordinarily tough. And
it takes a certain kind of person and it takes a certain kind of parent who will encourage their child to learn those really, really, really tough lessons early. And it's either going to crush them or it'll either break them or make them stronger.
Yeah.
Right. And it really can go only two ways. And do you have enough, I guess, faith in your kid in this context to feel like they'll be able to live through that and come out a better person?
Yeah.
Or are they going to look at you when they're 30 or 40, when they're grown and be like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What did you do to me?
Were you out of your mind?
Why did you do that to me?
Yeah.
Or are they going to say, thank you, I needed that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it's up to the individual, right?
So tough as a parent out there. I don't know. For my daughter.
But I was so proud that those girls were there. And I had my girls, I pulled their butts out of the pool and they had a friend over and I was like, you watch these girls. They worked so hard to be here. Look at how cool this is.
Yeah.
And to have two women of color up there on that stage, that was amazing.
And then afterwards, too.
And for that sport.
The sportsmanship afterwards.
I mean, oh my God.
It was amazing. I don't know, anybody out there who did not see that.
I was crying. Everybody in the house was crying. We were all crying. We were like,
I was crying too.
Yeah, it was very
for two reasons though. Because I love how the sportsmanship of Osaka to go up to her and they won't tell us what they said, but in her ear to Coco, she was saying something like comforting her.
I think she said, please do an interview before I accept. And she was like, I don't want to. This is your moment. And because I think that's what she said. And she said, you have to please do it.
Yeah.
And she was sharing the light and it was just like, it was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool. This generation, they're super evolved.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. The Gen Zs.
I'm encouraged by them.
Are you really?
I am.
Good for you. Really?
Yeah.
Well, let's go into your transition kind of. I know you're acting again, LA's Finest. Go check it out, everybody.
Yeah.
But you did.
It's a very feminist show.
It's a feminist show? Yes.
Yeah. It's two women of color that are starring in an action genre. We don't have to be saved by the men.
There you go.
Oh my God. It can happen. We can kick ass and we can, tell jokes and we get to be flawed humans and do the damn thing. Yeah.
But before you got to that though, you built a company, honest company that is, I know you get uncomfortable about it, but it's a $1 billion company.
Well, the valuation that people have put out there.
But to be able to start a company like that and to see it through and to have that type of success, that's transition going from acting to this. What was your thoughts when you started this company? I know why you started the company because you felt there was a necessity for it. Right. You wanted clean products. At the beginning, though, were you intimidated? Were you shy? What was your thoughts going into this company?
It's rejection. So I went through about 3 years of, middle-aged white men telling me that I was never going to make it. And what was I thinking? And how dare I?
Mm-hmm.
And then lots of people coming in and, giving me really, sage advice that you should just do one thing. You should just stay in your lane.
Mm.
And then I went and lobbied on Capitol Hill for chemical reform, because it really has to do with the industrialization of chemicals and them being put in everything from beauty products to baby products to everything that your food is in, and it leaching into food, leaching into our bodies, going into our bloodstream. Not only is it poisoning the oceans, but it's poisoning people. And it's affected obesity, learning disabilities, cancers, basically like all this stuff. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, what? There's like an actual crisis happening. What? How the hell is this happening? And where's the government? Like where's the government oversight? And when certain people are paying for politicians to stay in office, they're not going to buck the system and shake things up. And in Europe, basically, there's over 1,300 chemicals that are banned in personal care alone. And they have to prove that a chemical is safe at the percentage in use in a product before it can be brought into the market. In our country, there's, I believe, about 11 that are completely banned. Am I right? Yeah, still. Maybe up to 13. But enough people have to die or be very, very sick. And have to prove that it's a singular chemical before the government will even look into it. So we're basically guinea pigs. Yeah. And I was like, no way, this is crazy. And then, of course, the people who are less fortunate or don't live in that 0.1% where they can go to, whole paycheck is what I think they sometimes call it, or any organic and natural place to buy the alternatives, they are affected the most when it comes to the health implications of this, chemical exposure. So it was really like almost like a nonprofit or like a not a charity, but like this has got to change for humankind, and this matters. So I took this sort of like nonprofit idea and I put a for-profit business model around it. Yeah.
So it was like a mission, a cause.
It's my mission, and like it's a cause.
A calling, like I need to do this. So you're passionate about it. But then you run into the roadblocks or all the roadblocks. Any self-doubt?
All the self-doubt.
How do you get over self-doubt? How do you get over, can you
imagine this actress who you saw like on the cover of like GQ and Maxim is like trying to come in and tell me that she wants to basically create, like I was showing them the competitors are, Clorox and Procter & Gamble and Unilever and Estee Lauder, and in this space of like CPG and big giant beauty companies that have been around for like 100+ years. People are like, what? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? Just go make a perfume. And I was like, I think it can be done. And so I was like, I'm just going to go direct to the consumer, and you can only get it online. And so that's where I started. And then I tapped into a grouping of products that touch the people that are probably the most sensitive to this mindset, which are people with families or new parents. So it was like diapers, wipes, detergents, and personal care, which is like bath and body. And so I launched with 17 products.
Nice. And then how long has the company been around?
8 years.
8 years. And the growth has been tremendous. Have you had fun doing it? Has it been fun? Is fun a part of it for business? Is it fun a part of it for acting? How much fun do you place on anything that you do?
I really, really enjoy creating things. And I really like doing things that feel meaningful and have an impact. It's very fun and very fulfilling. It's also very, very draining. And it's like going to school every day and learning about something and then making these huge decisions that affect hundreds of people's, all of your employees' lives, right?
Yeah.
And also potentially the consumer. And so it's like, wait, I'm just learning about this and I have to make all these decisions. What? It's a lot. It's a lot. And so it's, my head hurts a lot and I stay up, I stress a lot. And so I've been trying to figure out how to manage stress. But the thing that I feel makes it really fun, I do think you need to have fun in life. And I think people need joy. And I think it's nice to wake up and feel optimistic, is to partner with people that got your back.
Oh, nice.
And I think when you're surrounded with people that you don't trust, it feels really scary and it feels really hard. And it's like you're swimming up like lava and you can't fucking get out of it. But when you surround yourself with the right people, it's great. And even through the hard times, you know that you guys are all in it together. Yeah.
And those people, I'm sure you would agree, they better be honest too. I know the company's name honest, but I mean honest from the sense of like, tell me the truth and let's build this together with honesty.
But it's really hard to find the right people.
Yeah.
And I think I had to go through so many life lessons and so, I trusted people and I just went through it. I went through it and I learned the hard way. But now I came out the other side of it and I'm feeling very grateful.
I'm a big believer though, when you go through those hard times, that's where the biggest growth is.
It's true.
Because when you come back from something
that doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
It makes you stronger, right?
Every time.
There's no pain, no gain. You hear it all the time.
It's so true.
So in my life, I'm really figuring out that I got to embrace when the shit hits the fan, like embrace the struggle. And in sports, that's all there is. I mean, it's pain and you're going to go through it. But once you get through that, just know it's going to make you better. And you got to learn your lesson.
But isn't it so hard to see the light when you're like in the thick of it?
So hard.
It's so hard.
But that's why it pays to be surrounded by good people. Like I said, when I say honest people, I mean somebody that has your back and they'll tell you the truth. Meaning like, because in our position, you can get surrounded by people that will tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
And don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me the truth. And but I have to also respect your opinion. And so I'm going to get into that. Your husband, Cash, that's usually where it comes from for most people. It comes from their significant other, their partner in life, whatever it is. With Cash, tell me about what he's meant to you. Obviously being in love, but everything, this whole journey that you've had.
Yeah, because it's like, it's your life partner, right? And you're going, and it's your chosen family because you don't really choose the other ones. And I think, I would definitely not be where I'm at if it weren't for him. He's a serial entrepreneur. Like he has created companies and sold them, all different kinds of companies. Now he has his own apparel company that he, started as a little side hustle that became his main hustle. But he just has such a fearlessness, and he also believes in quality of life. And he doesn't believe that you need to break your back every day. He really thinks that you should wake up and he has joy. He's joyful.
How does that balance your work ethic and being logical? And then he brings that other side of it.
Yeah. And also just my cynicism. I think his joy balances it for sure. Yeah. And then he 100% was the person that sort of believed in me and encouraged me and helped me. It was my thought partner in trying to crack this business and how I was going to go about it.
How long have you guys been married?
11 years.
You know?
Yeah, I'm how old is Honor?
Eyes are up to the left.
Yeah, 11 years.
Well, you guys had, I read this, you guys had kind of an untraditional wedding, right? Or something like that.
It was a shotgun. Yeah.
It was a shotgun wedding? What does that mean?
Down the street in Beverly Hills.
Just show up and sign papers? Do you do the I do? And
no,
let's sign some papers.
We signed some papers.
And how long after you guys were together before you did that? 4 years. So
and 9 months pregnant.
And 9 months pregnant.
Uh-huh.
Oh, great. You have a picture of that? That must.
We must have it on some camera, but I don't know where it is. It's actually kind of sad.
Well, what did you guys do that for? I mean, what was, I don't know if you know this, me and my wife, we had a commitment ceremony. And I talked to her about it on air already. But basically, we didn't want to get married. We didn't need a piece of paper. We were telling ourselves, to prove that we loved each other or anything like that. We just wanted to have a ceremony in front of everybody. Did you guys have a specific reason why you did it that way?
I think we both didn't really believe in like the traditional idea that like we needed to get married because that's what society tells you should do. On the flip side, I grew up with Disney movies. So of course, in my mind, I was going to have like a wedding and all of that. But then on the other hand, I was pretty sure that I never wanted to be married because I felt like it was going to force me to be stuck in a state that didn't feel right. I don't know, it just didn't feel like you could evolve as a person if you were stuck into this idea. But then what I liked about it was that it was something that wasn't my family and with honor and cash. Like it's something that's just mine and it's not public. It's not like my public persona. It's not my Jessica Alba person. I can be another person that's private and has like a family and has like different values and stuff. And so being a Warren and having that as like a private thing, I don't know, between us and my kids, we can have like the same last name together. And it just feels like something that I can own because I feel like so much of my life was so public and so kind of for everyone, right? And I was always kind of, I guess, in success in Hollywood is you get to live in a fishbowl.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, is this thing that is between us and felt private.
Yeah.
I think that's why I did it.
You guys been married 11 years, and just like you said, in Hollywood, that is a long time. It's like dog years in Hollywood.
I think anything in Hollywood is a long time.
Or anybody in the public eye, really. That's what it is. So for you guys have made it last, and you guys have made it last great.
But I think isn't that any profession? Like,
yeah, any profession. I think when you're in the public eye or whether it's business, I don't care what it is.
I think the person you are, like when we met, I was 23 and 25. He was 25. I'm a different chick.
Yeah.
At 38. Like I was so laid back. Like I, would watch sports and, play video games with him and hang out. And we'd like do silly, impulsive things. And now I'm like, I wake up every day and I'm like serious. And I like think about the kids and I think about the business. And I'm like making sure that everything is that. And I'm like kind of intense. And I'm like, I'm a different person.
What advice?
And he's a different person.
So
right?
What advice do you give because that's coming, that you're going to change, that's part of life.
Yeah,
so
but
what
you
advice
don't
do you give for
anticipate
relationships?
it, right?
So what advice do you give to relationships? People in relationships? What's your secret?
I don't think we have a secret.
There's got to be some secret sauce there. Like,
I think you have to talk about it. I think you have to respect who you're with. I think you have to, I don't know if I would be with Cash if I hadn't had I only had one other real relationship before him. And I was with someone for 4 years and it was so bad that then it allowed me to really appreciate what I had.
So no date night, no we stare into each other's eyes on Friday nights and we say how much we love each other.
Oh my
Is there
God.
any what about therapy? Do you guys, I'm just,
all
for
of
people in relationships,
all
do you
of
guys?
It. I think you have to do all of it. And I think that it's going to be different at every stage. And I think the second you don't think it's a priority, and not just you both have to think it's a priority. And the second one of you checks out, it's over.
Yeah.
So whenever I get to the point, and it, by the way, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
And both ends, whenever I get to the point where I'm like, are we doing this? Are you in this? If you are, then something's got to change because this isn't working for me. Same with him. Like if you're going to keep doing this, like then this is how I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And if we can just be real with like what's not working and what's not cool, and then and then check in and kind of unpack that and spend the time to unpack that. You can't think that something's just going to fix itself.
Yeah.
And kids make it much more complicated, you know, and it exacerbates everything.
No.
Right. And so you have to constantly communicate and both want it to work.
Yeah.
The second you don't want it, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love how you said those feelings are going to come.
And by the way, it's going to happen again with the next motherfucker you're with as well.
Yeah. Yes.
So whoever that person is, you're going to have to be with a whole new set of in-laws, a whole new set of complications, a whole new, that person's past. And you're going to be in the same damn place.
Yeah.
And you're going to look at each other and be like, oh, you're not the same person as you were when we first met. And da-da-da-da-da.
So you might as well work it out,
you
right?
Might as well work it out. Yeah.
Okay.
And also like appreciate what you've built.
Mm-hmm.
Reflect on the good. It's always easier to concentrate on, poke at it and concentrate on the negative. I think you have to try and be appreciative and reflect on the good and be grateful. And be grateful for your health, man. Mm-hmm. That's so big. Be grateful for your kids if you do get to have them, or whatever that family unit is that you've been able to create. I hate when people ask me what is mom advice or what is relationship advice? I am not even trying to pretend like I know, because it is a constant lesson for me. I don't know. Obviously, you got to figure it out, but I don't.
No, I don't. And
I'm
I think
always working at it.
But I think you should give yourself a lot more credit because you're doing. It seems. I mean, we don't live together, but nobody lives in the house with you. But from the outside looking in, you have a beautiful family and you're doing something right. And so I do believe that there is advice that. And you just gave some great advice. That was outstanding.
Is it similar to what you and Toby do?
Similar. We have to check ourselves, And
it is if at this moment, if you need the date night to check in once a week, if she needs we'll drop the kids off 3 times a week. That matters to me right now. And you're like, well, I need you to get off your damn phone and to stop worrying about all the things we need to do and to just hang out with me. Whatever that is in the moment. And by the way, a month from now, it can be different. And that's okay. I think when Cash and I had gone to therapy on my request, because I'm trying to, evolve and be a better person and learn about myself. And the best thing that she said was you both can literally say that's a crystal. But in Cash's mind and the way Cash hears it is that's a rock. Even though you're nope, that's a crystal. He only sees a rock.
Yeah.
And so you're not speaking the same language 90% of the time. And in the way you say something, he's not going to interpret it that way. And so you just have to be sensitive that you're coming at things completely differently with your own history of what things may mean and how you can interpret it.
Yeah.
And then you have empathy.
Yeah.
That was a big lesson for me.
See, you're giving a lot of really good answers.
That was a breakthrough moment.
Empathy, compassion, kindness, understanding, all that. We just got back from Peru. Went out there for a week. We did this whole abundance, love, goal-oriented training for 7 days straight. And it was awesome. Wow. But part of it was the love training between her and I. And what I got out of that was really honor her, really support her.
Yes.
And just listen sometimes.
Yes.
Which is the hardest thing without putting my judgments on it. And so you asked me that's kind of where I'm at now. And I'm in that space right now. And it's always evolving too. Maybe next week it'll be something different, but that's where I've really been concentrating on just listening and having compassion, I guess, like the Dalai Lama would say. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. It does. And I think, that's interesting that you guys have figured out how to extract yourself from your very busy lives and been able to dedicate a full 7 days to connection.
Yeah.
That is major.
Yeah. And I highly recommend, if you have the means, I know taking off 7 days, especially with the kids, but it was well worth it. Kind of like a recheck, a rebirth, I guess. I don't know. It was for a lot of different reasons. Your family. I know you hate this question. Tell me how you parent. Just give me the quick, because you have 3 kids. They're respectful. They're nice kid. They are. She's giving a little, for people out there just listening, she's giving a little
Sometimes
look. They
they're
are
a little rotten, but no, they're for the most part.
But what is your style of parenting? Do you think you're strict? Do you think you're the milk and cookies mama? Are you the rock? Like my mom was a rock and tough, but nice at the same time, but mostly tough.
I think my kids would say that I'm mostly tough. Cash would say 100% that I'm mostly tough. But I'm also like a lot of heart and softness, and like I'm silly with them, and I make mistakes, and I cry when I mess up, and I talk to them about how I'm feeling, and I'm very weird in that way, right? Where it felt unsafe when I remember seeing my dad cry, and I was like, oh God, I was like, my whole world just like crumbled before me. I was like, this doesn't feel safe, but I like broke down all of those notions, I think, for my kids early. And I was always very open, like almost like a bleeding heart, but then at the same time, very steady, consistent, strong. And the thing I think that I'm most consistent with is respect for your elders, because they've been here, before, and they deserve that. And respect for yourself, and respect for, I want them to treat, the planet and people and animals with respect. And so that's like my big thing consistently. Right now we're trying to deal with chores.
All that stuff. Yeah, they're getting to that old
like reminding them. And I'm like, do I have to remind you? Like when should I start dinging you if I have to remind you to brush your dang teeth?
So what happens when they mess up around the house?
We're going to have to figure it out.
What's the punishment?
Oh, the big punishment?
What's the protocol?
Is no electronics. That's the big punishment.
That gets them, huh?
But I started doing, I tried to do, because I remember we were over, and maybe you haven't talked about this, but I remember you're over and one of your kids got in trouble and you made him do like drills. Yeah. Like physical drills.
Push-ups. Yeah. Stairs.
Yeah. And I loved it. I was like, this is so amazing. And Cash remembered it too. And we were like, we're going to do that next time. And so I've tried to do that. And my honor is like, it's literally like the worst thing. Like, I think I actually like broke her because I was like, she was doing something awful and she was sassing me. And I was like, my parents used to whoop me when I did, like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And she was disrespectful. She was just really, and I was like, run 10 times to the end of the yard and back. And then I wanted you to do burpees. Yeah. I made her do like 10 burpees after that. And she was crying the whole time. And I felt so bad.
Yeah.
But I was like,
you did a good job.
I didn't know what else to do. Yeah. She was just being so rotten, you know? And
my kids go say the word stairs, especially to my youngest. Oh, she'll freak out.
Really?
She's like a vet coming back from war. Like, oh, please don't do that. And I'm like, you want to do some stairs?
Yeah. I mean, we used to do like go sit in the bathroom on the stool.
Yeah.
My Haven would, and we did nose and toes in the corner. That was the first one, was nose and toes in the corner for like, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. But Haven would like slap her sister in the face, walk her ass over to the corner, nose and toes, and she'd count.
Oh, and I love kids.
My middle child. Ooh.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I love when they're so honest, because I actually did that at the beginning where I made her do 15 stairs in the backyard or whatever. I'm like, go up the stairs 15. And I got done and she's coming down on stair 15. And she's like, yeah, that really wasn't that bad. And I was
that's my middle child.
So thank you. Thank you for telling me that though. Yeah. Because you just got another 15. Yeah. And I appreciate it. Thank you for being honest. Daddy's really proud of you. Like that. Get your butt up there and do another 15. And it broke her too. But yeah, a lot of parents out there. And I grew up from that generation too, where we got spanked and whooped and I don't do that to my kids.
Yeah, me neither.
Because I feel like there's a better way.
I agree.
You have to kind of outsmart them.
I remember saying like, you don't have to hit me every time. You can just explain it to me. Yeah. But it just wasn't how they were even taught, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I used to suck my thumb. And they gave up on whooping me for that one. And so then my grandma just put my finger in chiles and like anything like the most spicy. And then I'm like, give me a jalapeno.
A little picante, yeah. I wish my parents did. I can hardly eat hot food.
Did you ever have to pick out your own switch?
No. I got
The thinner ones hurt more.
The thinner ones hurt more.
The thinner ones hurt more.
My mother, you know what my mother used to do?
That was my grandma though.
With the, I never had to pick out a switch, but I got a belt. Just right. I was old school with this belt. Yeah.
They couldn't get it off fast enough.
No, that was the opposite of what my parents would do. They'd be like,
really?
okay, go to your room. I'll be there. I'll be there. And
No.
you're going to get a whooping.
Oh,
so I'd have to go in the
run.
room and just wait. If sometimes it'd be 15 minutes, 20, an hour and a half. And you're thinking, I got away with that one. And then they'd come in and then, then they'd bring the thunder.
Oh no. I'd run. I'd wait outside. I'd wait outside until I was hoping that they would forget. Oh yeah.
This is wide open. This is great. Okay. So a couple of finished up questions. I want to talk about your routines now. Do you meditate or any type of mindfulness training?
I need to do something. I don't work
Exercise?
out. I don't meditate.
So no meditation.
I barely eat right.
Really? Well, you look like you're in shape.
I drink a lot of caffeine.
A lot of coffee and stuff like that?
I drink a lot of caffeine before noon. And then I drink a ton of water throughout the day. And I love to snack on crunchy things. And I used to snack on a lot of popcorn and packaged things. And I was like, I just got to be healthier. So I do a lot of raw vegetables.
So a lot of this is genetics. What about sleep? Are you adamant about getting the right amount of sleep?
I actually got a good amount of sleep last night.
Was that something that you normally do?
No.
No, 8 hours?
No, but last night I set my alarm and I think I got 8 hours, but then I have panics in the middle of the night and I bolt out of bed. Last night I bolted out of bed.
What do you mean you got?
Because I heard a door open and
You have sleep fright? If you hear noise, you freak out?
Yep.
So do I. I used to have that, but it's going away now.
Boom.
Yeah.
And I go and I check all my kids. I check them if they're breathing and I tuck them back in. I'm
you're in your head a lot.
Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, right?
Every time I'm like, gosh, check the noise. And he was like, I'm sleeping. Every time I'm like, how can you make me check the house?
Come on, Mr. Man.
He's like, we're good.
No, but you're a logical person, right? You're in your head a lot. And you're hardworking, which will make you successful. I was like that, and I'm just telling you, especially after this Peru trip. I need to
meditate.
Meditation has helped it a lot.
But how often?
Every day now.
For
the last
20 minutes?
For 20 minutes a day. And the first thing in the morning, the very first thing I do before I even get out of bed, I take 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I open my heart, I slow my breathing down.
Okay.
Because you won't fall back to sleep because you just woke up. And then you start to see your life. No, I just lay right there.
Okay.
I lay right there. Toby probably still thinks I'm sleeping. And then I do it before I go to bed. And just really calming your heart. And this is what I want to tell you. So I'm a logical person.
Make your heart stop beating fast.
Well, you just relax yourself. And so what you do is you close your eyes, you take a couple deep breaths, you start to relax your body from head to toe. Just go one body part at a time. And then you open up your heart. You picture a light. And what does heart mean? When you're in your heart, there's no fear of judgment. There's compassion. Define what being in your heart means and open that up. And then you start to think about what you want. So so you set your goals, you set intentions, affirmations. You start saying, I am powerful. I am limitless after your heart's been opened. And then you go to the future on anything that you want. You see yourself being a better parent. You see yourself being a better business person. You see yourself being a kick-ass actor. You do all this stuff, and that's 3-year goals from now. And then you go to today. Okay, this is how I'm going to get there. And this is going to be my interaction. I'm going to be coming from my heart. Keep opening your heart. Because I've been that person who's been in my head. And this has really, really helped me a lot lately. It's helped me have a lot more fun and stop worrying. Kind of like when you're acting. When you're acting, I'm sure, at least what I've seen, the best acting that I do, is when I can just let go and say, I don't give a shit about the outcome. We talked about earlier. I'm just going to be here in this moment. Yeah. And that's the only way you can act, right? It's the only way you can play football. I know that for sure.
It's also when you're having, I think, the most fun with your kids, the most fun with your partner. It's the most fun with anyone when you're just sort of letting go and you're just present.
Yeah. I'm shocked right now that you don't have any type of meditation routine or sleep or health, or because you're kicking, you're doing such amazing things. I'm wondering if you did do that, I mean, you're going to be running for president. You're going to be you're going to be doing.
I don't know if I would want that stress.
Well, you're a political person too. We just saw each other at an event.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want that stress. But yeah, I think maybe this is what this next phase is for me, is to to create new habits that will allow me to be open to go to that next phase, because I've sort of tapped out. Mm-hmm. And also it's just like not fun feeling so stressed. Mm-hmm. And like at any moment, like I have nightmares in the middle of the night that there's an earthquake and I jump out the bed yelling to Cash to get the kids. And I'm holding on to like the wall, and it's like 3 a.m. Like this happens usually when I'm pregnant and right after I have the kids, but it's a thing. Or that I'm falling always, or my teeth are falling and crumbling out of my mouth. But I think all of this, when I've looked it up, it's things being out of my control and wanting to, but it's probably like just let go of it, right?
Yeah. And well, I would honestly look into meditation and look into some type of exercise, because both those things, there's plenty of statistics, published studies on how that reduces stress.
I'm so lazy.
Well,
I mean, I'm not, but I just want someone to do it with me. I'm codependent.
Well,
I've been trying to tell Toby. I know, but I don't want to. I wanted to hire someone that I can laugh with.
Okay. we'll talk about after the show.
But I want to have someone. That's what I like to do with friends. I've had so many trainers in my day, and they're like, when it's their job to train you, they're so serious.
Yeah.
Like I want to just like go in, and I want to complain, and I want to like get through it, and I want to have a giggle, and I want to do it with a friend.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe you can do infrared sauna. That's another one. Like you can, all you do is sit there.
I mean, I have a gym at my house.
Okay.
I have no excuses.
Okay. Well, maybe this is the next phase. This is.
You know what? I'm going to ask Cash if we can make it like a couples thing. Like we wake up early and we make ourselves go to the gym, because he has a dad bod.
Does he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Cash.
He's getting that dad bod.
And dad bod. Okay.
Yeah. He's 40 now.
Yeah. Here it comes.
Good. And he has like a natural good body, so he doesn't have to do much. Like literally, if that fool did the treadmill for 20 minutes, 5 days a week, he'd be just shredded. He's so annoying.
I'm surprised. Like I said, I'm surprised. There's no sleep habits, no meditation habits, no workout habits, no intermittent fasting, nothing. So
I may accidentally do intermittent fasting. Except I love
accidentally.
I just forget, because I'm.
You sound like my mom now. She's like, I ain't intermittent fast. I just don't eat.
Yeah, I don't really. But I just really, really like snacks. Your mom is so beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You need your mom on this. Has she been on this yet?
You know what? Maybe I should have her on here.
Your mom actually should be your co-host.
She would be funny.
I want to see you and your mom.
She's a loose cannon though.
She's amazing.
She's a loose cannon.
Your mom, I would do a show with your mom.
She's crazy though.
She's amazing. Especially because you're she would be a nice yin and yang with you.
All right, final questions. Favorite books? Do you have a book that you read when you were younger, a book when you're in your whenever that influenced you that you would recommend to people out there?
Leadership, the Eleanor Roosevelt Way. I like that one because she was faced with lots of different obstacles along the way, but she persevered and she made such a huge impact in so many different ways. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I just love people who have perseverance. There's something so inspiring about that.
Yeah, it's not surprising after hearing your story. What is a food if you could make it healthy? This is my favorite. I ask this to everybody who comes on the show because I want to know what did they eat? What would you eat if you could make it healthy that's not healthy? So it could be like a Snickers bar, or it could be a cheeseburger from wherever place. You can name the place. I don't care what it is. What food, if you could eat it every day and it could be healthy, would you have?
Nachos.
Nachos with the works?
Yeah.
Jalapenos.
Yep.
Meat.
I would do like carne asada on one side. I would do like pork, chicken, steak, lots of cheese, no sour cream, jalapenos, pico de gallo.
Okay.
Yeah.
That works. Okay.
All the things. But I think it's healthy to have a balance and not to only eat no oil, no fat.
No, I agree.
All the thing. Like I used to be that person.
It's no way to live.
It's just no way to live.
No way to live.
What's the point?
Yeah. You got to have a cheat day. I'm into that.
I mean, I have a cheat life. So, and I have to say, like, I don't know. I think that if you do a little something for your fitness every day, unless it's your job to be like shredded with like 8% body fat, I think you have to live your life. But if you do something healthy every day, like a fitness, a meditation, I think you don't have to be that strict.
Yeah. If you could sit down with anybody in history, living or dead, and just share a cup of coffee, drink coffee, who would you sit down with?
I like to do the 3, if you could invite 3 people to dinner, who would it be?
Well, we can switch it up.
And so I think about this one.
Pick one. I want to know who the one is.
No, I'm thinking. I think it would be Mary. It would be Jesus's mom, Mary.
Okay. Why?
I think there's something about that sacrifice for the greater good. And I also think that watching this little person that you raise turn into a prophet, just that journey as a parent, like how, I don't know, I just think that there's so much there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think she would just be like a really incredible person.
That'd be a great one.
Yeah.
That'd be a great one. So a couple people have said Jesus, but you said Jesus' mom. Let's go there. Okay. I like that perspective. All right. What's something, final question, what's something that you're going through or that's...
Or Cleopatra.
Or Cleopatra. Okay. So...
I love her.
What's something that you're going through or concerned with that you're wide open to learning about? Like anything that concerns you or a new concept that you're learning, like, okay, for me right now, if you ask me that question, I would say, I'm wide open to learning how to be in my heart more and get out of my head. That's kind of been a big thing for me. Or it could be something political. I don't care what it is. It's just.
I'll say what I struggle with right now. I struggle with, and I'm not sure how to tackle it. And maybe it's the one thing I could control is being in my heart more. So that might be the answer. I struggle with knowing all of the injustices that are happening, not only in the world, but in our country, especially with the way that we're treating children and women who are coming here for a better life and the way they're being treated like animals. And it's like the most egregious attacks on humanity. And if I have this struggle, if I'm a vocal person, as a public person about an issue that has been so politicized, I'm essentially putting my life and my children's life in danger, right? And I've already had those types of compromises. But if I don't say anything, I feel a weight and heaviness in my heart. So I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I love it. Good answer. Good answer.
But I think maybe I just need to be more connected to the heart and be open and not in my head so much. Because there's so much that as much as I want to try and change and make different, it's out of my reach. Right?
Yeah.
You have to let it go.
Yeah.
And do what you can. There you go.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Alrighty.
In your beautiful home.
Thank you. Welcome anytime.
So nice here.
Can I do it on the ground? I'm not zen or yoga. That's